Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, it's another absolutely gorgeous day out. We're no longer in Nassau, we're sailing the high seas, and well, we've got a lot of news to talk about, so let's get to it. So first up on the docket here, and we're talking about Nintendo, and we talked about Nintendo yesterday for a number of reasons, but one of those was the firmware that was updated on the Switch and the Switch 2. And it turns out that firmware update might be affecting third-party dock compatibility. Now this story is currently unfolding, and unfortunately my internet connection is not that strong right now to do a full-fledged investigation. But there are a lot of reports out there about Switch 2 docks, third-party docks no longer functioning after this firmware update. And it seems very convenient to not just be a coincidence. I am really curious to see what happens moving forward here, and if this will be a huge issue or if it's just an interesting coincidence. If you've got a Switch 2 and a third-party dock and it no longer works, let me know in the comments below. And speaking about arguably controversial stuff in Nintendo, next up here we're still talking about Nintendo, but this time about game keycards. And first-party games appearing on game keycards, maybe. Now it is worth pointing out it's currently just a rumor, but it does look to be true, and I mean this would be huge if true. And I couldn't understand why Nintendo would go through the effort of making promotional art showcasing this if they weren't going to use it. There are a lot of people out there saying that back in May, Nintendo said they had no plans to put first-party games on game keycards. But that was back in May, and no plans does not mean never. So we're gonna have to wait and see on this one, but it doesn't look like we're gonna have to wait very long at all. And for those wondering, it will be possibly, more than likely, Pokemon Pokopia. Let me know your thoughts about that one in the comments below. I mean, in my opinion here, if this is true, this would be a huge blow to game preservation. I think this is a step in the wrong direction from Nintendo, and a number of steps in the wrong direction in my opinion here. But overall, it's very not surprising situation. And speaking about Nintendo Switch stuff, next up we're talking about Nintendo Switch emulation with Eden. And Eden just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, Eden version 0.0.4 release candidate 2 is the latest and greatest update. Taking a look at the changelog here, they say a bug fix in version 0.0.4 RC2 for Linux users that prevented any game from launching has been fixed. I'm pretty sure we've talked about this one in a previous video, but it looks like this release was republished with even more fixes. Under the TLDR, they say fixed a critical bug for all x86-64 Linux users, didn't affect FreeBSD or Solaris. Slight performance increases for shader compilation, Dragonfly BSD support, and fixes for audio cutoffs on Steam Deck. Additionally here for Eden, and I would say this one is really big, they say after nearly 4 months of work, they finally have Eden running on Windows on ARM devices such as the Snapdragon X Elite. They go on to say, starting in version 0.0.4 release candidate 3, right now they're on RC2, the MSVC ARM64 builds will be permanently retired and replaced with MinGW ARM64. That's a big win for Eden. And continuing to talk about Switch emulation, next up we're talking about Citron, and Citron has a brand new release here, version 0.11.0. They say this release focuses on platform expansion, UX, UI improvements, performance optimizations, and enhances game compatibility with significant networking and theme system enhancements. Furthermore here, they say under major features, ARM64 Windows support. Full ARM64 compilation, Citron now builds and runs natively on Windows ARM64 devices. Optimized for ARM processors, better performance on Surface Pro X, Windows on ARM laptops, and other ARM64 Windows devices. Furthermore, and I think a lot of people are going to be excited about this one, Snapdragon 8 Elite GPU support. Enhanced mobile GPU compatibility and shader features. So Snapdragon 8 Elite optimization, specific support for Qualcomm's latest flagship mobile GPU. Advanced shader features, improved shader compilation and execution for Adreno GPUs, which is Snapdragon, and better mobile performance. Additionally, under per game cheat management, they say dedicated cheat management tab, per game cheat configuration interface, bulk toggle controls, disable all cheats with single click buttons, real-time cheat reloading, changes apply immediately without restarting the game, and organized cheat list, clean sortable interface for managing multiple cheats per game. Also, they say it's compatible with firmware version 20.0.0 and 21.0.0. On top of that, they've overhauled their theme system. There's a whole lot of stuff in here. I could be quite a while going through the entire changelog. If you are interested and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links will be within the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below. I don't hide my sources. Next up, we're talking about Windows emulation on Android with GameHube Lite. Now, we've talked about GameHube Lite in yesterday's video and also in previous videos when the main developer decided to step away from the project. Now, it does seem that GameHube Lite is back. However, it has changed hands and also location. If you are curious as to where GameHube Lite's new location is, it is up on GitHub. And again, like everything we talk about, link will be within the GitHub link below. At the time of filming, GameHube Lite version 5.1.0 is the latest and greatest update. If you are using GameHube Lite version 4 and it's not working, you may want to think about upgrading. And for those unfamiliar with GameHube Lite, it's a very stripped down version of GameHub without a lot of telemetry. Additionally here, the new developer behind GameHube Lite I think does a fantastic job explaining the differences between the versions. For example, Antutu, PUBG, and Ludashi. Now, on a quick side note here, with a lot of these performance-based versions of emulators, whether it's GameHube Lite or Citra or really anything, it may result in thermal throttling and may result in damage to devices if they're overheating and being pushed for extended periods of time. And speaking about Citra, next up here we're talking about Nintendo 3DS emulation on Android with Citra MMJ, where MMJ stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano. Anyways, there's a brand new release of Citra MMJ up on their GitHub. And just like GameHube Lite, there are different versions. There's the standard version of Citra MMJ, the Antutu version, which is a performance-based version of it. And there's also ones for storage access for specific versions of Android and even more. Again, if you're interested and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links will be within the GitHub link below. And speaking about stuff on GitHub and 3DS stuff, next up we're talking about a very interesting project here called 3DS ROM Manager Suite. They say this is an all-in-one tool for converting, decrypting, and compressing Nintendo 3DS ROM files. So taking a look under features here, and they say format conversion, convert between 3DS CCI and CIA formats with batch support. Decryption, Z3DS compression, batch processing, utilities, and safe and user-friendly. And version 1.0 of this thing just dropped. It is worth noting that this is the initial release, and they say future updates will include improved automation and UI enhancements. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. Next up here, we're going back one generation, or actually a couple of generations, and talking about the Game Boy Advance and a fan game. But before we do that, we're always fluff spotting on this channel, and I've just spotted some fluffs. So, getting back to the news here, if you're a fan of racing games, if you're a fan of the Game Boy Advance, and you're a fan of Ridge Racer, you might be interested in this. There is a current Ridge Racer Demake in development for the Game Boy Advance. There's a YouTube video up that I would recommend checking out. And to me, the game looks to be progressing very well. It looks like it's running really good on the GBA. And speaking about demakes, next up we're going back one generation further and talking about Game Boy Color and Undertale on the Game Boy Color. And someone is demaking Undertale for the Game Boy Color, and in my opinion right now it looks pretty good. So taking a look on itch.io, and they say it's a faithful re-imaging of the demo of Undertale for the Game Boy Color. This demake recreates the original's core mechanics, pixel art style, and iconic soundtrack within the limitations of retro hardware. It includes turn-based combat, explorations, and a full color-compatible experience. Next up here, we're switching from Nintendo to PlayStation and talking about the latest PlayStation Direct, or PlayStation State of Play. Anyways, here they just had one in Japan, and there's some very interesting stuff. I think VGC does a real good job at summing up everything that happened in that State of Play. Now, interestingly, PlayStation did unveil a 27-inch gaming monitor, which from my understanding will be released in Japan and North America. And they say here it's built for desktop gaming with a PS5. The upcoming monitor combines bold visuals and performance and includes a charging hook for the DualSense wireless controller. Taking a look at pricing on this thing, and it looks like it's not necessarily going to be cheap. The resolution is 2560 by 1440. It does have HDR and VRR support. Now, unfortunately, there is no firm pricing just yet. PlayStation has not announced anything. There's a whole lot of speculation as to what it's going to cost, though. And taking a look at the information, I really don't think this is going to be that cheap. Let me know your thoughts. But speaking about cheap, next up we're talking about the PS5 Digital Edition and a Japan exclusive edition. Very interesting. I mean, Nintendo has a Japan exclusive Switch edition that's a little bit cheaper, and PlayStation seems to be hopping on the trend and selling this thing for $355. I'm not gonna lie here, I am really curious to see what happens moving forward with these, if they will be region locked or if they won't be, and if they are region locked, will people find a way around them? And the reason I'm so curious about this is because they're significantly cheaper in Japan versus the rest of the world. So if they aren't region locked, or if there's a way around the region locking, I think they're going to be hot sellers over there. And speaking about hot sellers, next up we're talking about Elden Ring. And Elden Ring Night Reign, The Forsaken Hollows, has just got a brand new gameplay reveal trailer. It's up on YouTube, and if you are interested in it, it is age restricted, but feel free to check it out. The Forsaken Hollows DLC releases on December 4th, just in time for the holiday season, and I think this one will be a hot seller. And speaking about hot sellers, next up we're talking about a very interesting article up on Kotaku. It's titled, "Company Used Fake Reddit Posts to Advertise Game, Then Deleted the Evidence." So they go on to say here, Traplan, a large video game marketing company, admitted that it used multiple fake Reddit accounts to help promote a game called War Robots Frontiers, pretending to be authentic fans and players who just happened to discover the mech game and wanted to share it with others. Holy smokes. Now, I would argue this is not the first time something like this has happened, and I would argue it's probably not going to be the last time something like this happens. And I would also argue that this is really bad for the look of Reddit overall in terms of quality of information. I am curious, have you played War Robots, and was a review on Reddit or a conversation on Reddit something that enticed you to even try the game? Was this marketing tactic effective? We're probably going to see a whole lot more of this moving forward. It's really unfortunate, but a lot of people do go to Reddit for information, and advertisers have picked up on that. And speaking about picking up games, last up here we're talking about a brand new game service set to rival Humble Bundle. This one is called, I hate the name of this thing, let me know your thoughts about the name, but it is called Digiphile. And the website is digiphile.co. Now, taking a look at their description, and I think they may resonate well with gamers overall, because they say how we're different, built by gamers for gamers with integrity at our core. And this point is huge, completely independent. We're former Humble Bundlers, self-funded, and only answer to our community, not to profit-driven shareholders. No overselling, keys are reserved the moment you check out, no waiting. At the time of filming, their latest offer here is Return of the Immersive Sim, and it's a Steam game collection, and it's $20 for 7 different games here. And for those wondering, here are the included games. They've got Control Alt Ego, Blood West, Fallen Aces, System Shock 2, Shadows of Doubt, and Peripeteia. I'm not familiar with that one, and I probably just butchered that name. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff, or actually there were some fluffs in this one. Let me know your thoughts about anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.